ChatGerry, a solid dynamics, fluid dynamics, and topological method for understanding chronic disease trajectories, number 1485, VPT Sharp 046, December 30, 2025. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Research Methodology. Preface: My academic and intellectual path did not follow a normal or predictable timeline. It was shaped early by historical disruption, early responsibility, and continuous self-driven learning rather than by orderly academic progression. Over many decades, this path led me through mathematics, engineering, computer science, business management, psychology, and eventually internal medicine. What connects all these experiences is not the subjects themselves, but the way they train me to observe systems as they evolve over time. When I later faced serious personal health problems, including multiple life-threatening medical events, I did not approach them as isolated diagnoses. I approached them as a living system under stress. That shift in perspective became the foundation of my medical research. Introduction. After more than 16 years of intensive self-study and daily health tracking, I realized that most chronic diseases do not behave like fixed conditions. They behave like systems in motion. They change slowly. They speed up or slow down. They stabilize or collapse. Damage builds quietly over time, often long before it is visible. In a clinic visit or lab report, this realization did not come from theory or textbooks. It came from watching my own health day after day, year after year. Why I began thinking in fluid flow terms. 3 simple observations shaped my thinking. First, time matters. Health cannot be understood from isolated snapshots. What matters is direction, speed, and accumulation across years. Second, many important health factors behave like flows. Blood sugar rises and falls. Blood pressure pulses. Sleep recovers or degrades. Physical activity supports circulation. These are ongoing processes, not single events. Third, outcomes depend more on accumulation than on single measurements. Repeated stress causes damage even when individual numbers look acceptable. These ideas naturally led me to think of chronic disease as a flow problem, rather than a static condition. What flow thinking explains well? Flow thinking explains processes that are still adjustable. Blood sugar control, blood pressure regulation, sleep improvement, and exercise recovery all belong to this stage. Changes here are gradual and at least partly reversible, especially when addressed early. This is why lifestyle changes work best before serious complications appear. They slow harmful flow patterns before permanent damage occurs. Where flow thinking must stop. Not everything can be explained using flow alone. Some changes are structural. Scar tissue, calcified blood vessels, nerve damage, kidney, scarring, retinal damage, and stroke lesions represent physical damage to tissue. Once this damage occurs, reversal becomes limited. In my research, diabetes control, blood pressure regulation, sleep improvement, and exercise recovery belong to the fluid stage. Stroke damage, vascular calcification, heart attacks, kidney scarring, neuropathy, and retinopathy belong to the solid stage. I had followed this distinction instinctively for years. Only recently did I clearly recognize and name it as fluid-solid regime switch. A simple 2-stage view. Viewed simply, chronic disease follows 2 stages. Stage 1 is the fluid stage. Stress accumulates. Damage is still largely reversible. Intervention is most effective here. Stage 2 is the solid stage. Structural damage has occurred. Recovery is limited. Management replaces reversal. Stroke sits near the transition between these stages. Diabetes reversal belongs squarely in the fluid stage. Chronic complications emerge when fluid problems persist too long. Why geometric shape matters. 2 people can have similar averages yet very different outcomes. What matters is trajectory shape. Smooth paths suggest stability. Sharp bends suggest danger. Breaks indicate failure. This explains why averages alone often fail to protect individuals. Conclusion. Most of my medical research can be understood by combining flow behavior with structural understanding. The key is knowing when each applies and recognizing the boundary between them. I now recognize that this distinction has guided my medical research for years. I have identified and named it the fluid-solid regime switch. At its core, the message is simple. Fluid misregulation comes first. Structural damage follows. Understanding this order allows earlier action, better prevention, and more realistic expectations. Disclaimer: I write this article not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand health, prevent disease, and live better lives. This content is provided for educational reference only, and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this article freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights belong to the author. Gerald C.